inhuman, so peculiar, we're too scared to make a change. Everybody's out to get you and you're acting like it's strange. Cause being human so peculiar, we're too scared to make a change. Shakara, ha, Shakara, ha, Shakara, ha, Shakara, ha, Shakara.
Live in from the shrinking demilitarized zone between the hardliner and the patriots in the ongoing civil war, this is the Library of Mass Destruction. I am your host, Capitalisimo, and joining me is Christopher Sandbatch. How are you doing today, sir?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Are you really making this hardliners and patriots? That's funny, and I can't. Because of who I am, you know, I can't laugh, but I'm laughing.
He can't laugh. He's laughing he's cringing in his soul.
Y'all are all idiots. Every one of y'all.
Why are we doing this?
We're all idiots.
See, me personally, I'm a dissident right. I'm a paleo dissident rightist centrist. I believe in the pan right unity movement. As long as you are vaguely on the right, I'm with you. If you are not, you are a non-person.
You know I'm gonna hear about this conversation.
very vaguely on the right. That's what I mean. Very vaguely on the right. I mean, Peter, send the checks. Send the checks. The lines are open. Super chat from Peter Thiel right now. No whammies. 1, 2, 3. Shoot. Didn't get.
We're looking for at least $5, Pete.
We're looking for at least $5, Peter Thiel. $5. Can I get $5?
You know you're out there.
That's right. Yeah. Big soda lobby. Big soda. We'll take the post. If we get a $7,000 super chat, we are going to stop noticing things, but we will see. Yes, very, very broadly, very, very, very big tent. Love a circus. I love a circus. Big tents. They got the biggest tents.
We're gonna be the best on tents.
We're gonna be the best on tents.
The biggest tents ever.
Oh shit! It's Randall Shirker. It's secretly the pseudonym of Peter Thiel himself. Hi, I will say, if you need suggestions for the next book, I'll DM them to you. Well then, yeah, let me know. DM some suggestions.
I had forgotten about all books prior to this and all books that subsequent. All books.
You've pre-forgotten any. So you have what? Future tense amnesia, pronesia. Like, yeah.
This one has totally destroyed me and remade who I was.
We're just gonna read Salo or 120 Days of Sodom. That's the next thing we're gonna read.
I mean,
I'm gonna do the voices.
No.
Non, monsieur. That's
I was talking to the eminent writer Anna. I never even know how to say her name. Anna Kripalapova, whatever. I was talking to her last night, and I told her I was like, because I'm so shocked by this whole Dave McGowan thing. I said the only thing that I've been convinced of is that John Wayne Gacy was totally innocent.
That's right. That's right. He did all of them.
I don't even know
innocent.
if that's. I don't even know if that's anything that was forwarded as a possibility in this book, but that's been my take-home message from it so far. Is that John?
Actually, I'm pretty sure he said John Wayne Gacy did it. I'm pretty sure he said John Wayne Gacy did it, but Ted Bundy didn't. That was the Ted Bundy innocent, Gacy guilty, but not a solo actor was the story. Yeah, he has some. We're gonna go through some things. This book is almost over, so I don't know what we're going to do if we run out of things to read. We might just have to pull up the New York Times and see who's currently responsible for
real fucking Groucho Marx at now. We're just gonna read the New York Times.
We're gonna read the weather. We're gonna read the weather report. Hey Coop, did you see the cumulonimbus? Like they're forming over the Great Plains. It'll feed in. It means we'll have quite the nor'easter. Quite the nor'easter this winter. You can tell. Read the farm report. You know they do the farm report every day.
What is the farm report?
Farm reports like commodity prices for
like the almanac.
What?
Like the almanac. You mean like it's like an official public, like SIBO or somebody like that puts it out?
Well, there is, but then there's like, here's some questions about people dealing with cutworms, etc. It's just a kind of a little classic thing, but it's still going because you know what? Some people still live an agrarian lifestyle.
There are 600,000 American farmers that have no phosphates from Israel, or where the fuck those come from.
Phosphates?
Yeah.
What do you mean phosphates?
These are fertilizers.
Oh. They don't use artificial nitrogens.
Maybe they have, both of them have to be in there, and
NPK. Yep.
Both of them have to be in there, but because what phosphate is?
No.
Dude, this is wild. So do you know some basic chemistry, don't you?
No, not really, but
you know what an equilibrium is, I'm sure.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so yeah, we don't have to go that far. So the
nudge unit's talking about we're importing piss. Nice crystalline piss.
Yeah, no. So the brutal reality of the phosphate thing is that at base you have to provide shitloads of phosphate in order to foster the production of DNA, because it's a phosphate chain that holds the nucleic acids together. And so like one of the things that like fertilizer does is just takes an equilibrium equation and it forces it as far to one side as you can go. You just flood the world in phosphates. That's why like algal blooms and shit like that happen, because it's like instantaneous raw materials.
It's too much nutrient. Yeah, too much nutrient.
It's like something out of Nick Land.
Yeah. I sometimes wonder why we couldn't just like farm blue whales by like getting very large tanker ships full of like, I don't know, like a concentrated animal feedlot operation juice and just dump it, cause an algal bloom, feed it to like a giant school of krill, and then just like get those whales on it. Get those whales on it.
Get them whales on it.
Yeah.
I don't understand when it's farming rather than just like lots of like just feeding whales.
It kind of sounds like you're just feeding pig shit to whales with more steps. Yeah. I am. I'm trying to get some sort of international
Just imagining you
global grant to buy hog shit and tank it to the middle of the ocean.
Dude, have you ever heard of there's so many things to talk about there, but like, have you ever heard of mesquite chocolate? This sounds like a better endeavor.
Mesquite?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know the wood,
Yeah.
but is it like smoked chocolate?
It's like it's not chocolate, but that's the closest analog I could.
Is mesquite chocolate some sort of weird Native American black porno thing?
No. Well,
Okay.
it could be in time with enough product promotion. And no, it's an actual like chocolate's the only thing that I can use to name. But I would rather you get involved in the production of if you're gonna get into farm goods, to get into mesquite chocolate instead of feeding pig shit to whales. But because I'm just sitting here imagining that giant shit smear that comes out of India on the satellite maps being like single-handedly rivaled by like by you.
By the Faustian pig shit tanker.
Because I live in New Orleans, and that's how I went live tonight. You want to hear what kind of friends I have here? This is a ridiculous but totally fucking true story.
I believe you.
Sitting on the cafe with my friend last night, and he's telling me that he's getting his pilot's license. Okay. He's getting his pilot's license
to fly a seaplane for a detective agency.
You're pretty fucking close. This guy looks exactly like somebody.
He looks exactly like a human version of Baloo from Tailspin.
Yeah, it's like he was wearing like a Hawaiian shirt with a Kirby t-shirt on underneath it. Okay.
Oh my lord.
He's got a mustache, and he's telling me all because he's got to find some other gig now that because he was slinging peptides for the longest time. Just one of these New Orleans
just like Drive Time Movie Night.
Yeah, well, one of these like classic New Orleans type dudes. And we're sitting outside the cafe, and he's telling me about his new scheme to get his pilot's license so he can fly dead migrant Mexicans' bodies back to Mexico because the families will pay for that. And
how much though?
About $12,000.
So you're telling me there's a $12,000 bounty on Mexican migrants?
I didn't quite take it that far, but they're actually probably really interested in controlling the trickle of migrant bodies, because you don't want the price to sink too low on one of these. You got to. This is.
Well, I mean, look, if you're the delicate operation. Look, I am completely willing to join the cartel for migrant corpses. And by cartel, I mean like not like Sinaloa cartel. I mean like OPEC. To control the rate of migrant corpse exports in order to make sure that the price stays high.
Yeah.
I that's the kind of industry protectionism I can get behind.
That's Louisiana, by the way. That's like the economy of Louisiana is like just it's an entire state full of people sitting around thinking up schemes like that.
I mean, that's a great scheme. So he has his pilot license. Does he need any sort of thing? Like if he were to have an investor come in and say I'll buy a second generation, Cold Stone Creamery. We can use that big old fridge they got in the back. Just keep them fresh for Abuela. Once she scrapes together her pesos to get little Juan's body back.
You have to put that on the West Bank.
I mean, look, I'm just saying. I can, if I will build the storage. I'll build the storage so that we can enable better scaling for this corpse delivery business.
Well, you can only carry 4 at one time in the plane.
Okay, but I mean, how often do you find 4 at one time? Right, for fresh stiffs. right? You got to store them.
No,
so you got to have some sort of body size
you're not going to
storage.
be doing that. This is relatively hazardous labor. You're not going to be doing this unless you've got a full load.
Okay,
I don't think there's a shortage of them because apparently they all die of heat stroke and shit like
what if
that.
what if we just get a refrigerated truck and pull up front of a Home Depot and they load themselves?
Well, I mean that might work. It's look. I mean,
And then they stay fresh. This is exactly how they. By the way, this is exactly how they harvest like cod, right? Like the fishing boat. They get them out of the net. They put them in the bin. It all gets flash frozen.
Yeah.
Like the fish basically swim right into the fridge. That's why it stays so fresh. That's why the fishing industry. This is how we have to be thinking. We have to be copying the fishing industry for remigration. That's what we need to do. We need to make sure they go.
When you get back to Mexico,
they go in the hopper. We flash freeze them so they stay fresh. We let them out. They walk right out. Right? Maybe. I'm sure. And you know what? Mexico will figure out.
Scientists did this. Scientists will figure out the problem. Scientists successfully did it to a man in Amsterdam 130 years ago. So yeah.
Mexico will figure out how to scale safe thawing for the cryogenic system, and maybe we'll make cryogenics real.
World leader in cryogenics research along along the Acapulco coast there. That's right. You're trying to go under the barbed wire. Turns out you're making a contribution to science. Get in the fucking truck. They're calling it the coast of much knowledge. Yep. This is the coast of the cold coast. Dude, this other guy, this here's another to give you another indication. This scheme, that first scheme was pretty badass. It's gonna work. He does it. It's great. He should get a seaplane though. Seaplanes are great. Yeah, you got to do that. You got to. It's flying across the sea. Yeah. But he also was hatching a scheme to go around to people who like landlords that can't rent their houses out and let us turn it into a pop-up tiki bar with local DJs all summer. Interesting. Definitely illegal. There's no way that liquor licenses work. You can get a temporary liquor license, and all you have to do is. So you're basically just doing a 7-day catering permit at a residence. Yeah, that's not gonna fly, but okay. This is New Orleans, dude. This is New Orleans. You probably just the city is so fucking broke. Like you can just be like, well, how about I just pay you $500 and that'll be, nobody will say anything. The biggest thing Randall Shirker just paid us 1% of $500 and says, also reminds Sandbatch that he's always 2 mistakes away from becoming the e-boy and needs to stop ODing on e-girls to avoid this fate. I'm not on e-girls anymore. He's not. He's been clean for 2 weeks, Randall. He got his first chip. Yep. We'll all be there. We'll all be there for your 1-year party. 2 years from now. Somebody is up here talking shit about chicory coffee. Cafe du Monde is fine. It's fine. It's not it's not my go-to, but I do like it now and again. I think it's actually better in the cold. Unless I'm drinking really fancy like single estate coffee, like my regular one, it's not Cafe du Monde, it's the French market. The French market chicory. Do you know what chicory looks like? Yeah, it's just like little sticks. Well, the flower is beautiful. No, like it looks like fucking it just looks like flax. Yep. Actually. But it's it does not look anything like what you would expect. Mm-hmm. Like you'd think, maybe it's some kind of bean, right? No. Yeah, there are a bunch of kinds. I'm pretty sure what they add to coffee is the root.
pretty sure they add the root.
Chicory salad's great.
There are breeds of chicory that kind of look like almost like a cabbage. So yeah, that's good in salad. But salada, salute. Yeah. But anyway, we've talked about many topics, but you know what we haven't talked about yet?
What?
Abusing children. And that's what this show is all about, abusing children. So gather around, kids, and we'll tell you a tale. We'll tell you a tale of the one who started it all. Maybe. I mean, I don't really that might be what McGowan is going for here.
Donation Alphonse Francois. Uh-oh. I don't like where this is going.
Yeah. Chapter 22, role models. No habit is more easily No habit is more easily acquired than mad savoring. Eat one, delicious. Eat another. No two taste alike, but all are subtle, and the effect is somewhat that of an olive. Donatien, Alphonse Francois, describing the joys of coprophagia, eating shit. And if you don't know who that is, you'll know him by his title. Long before Marc Dutroux, there was Donatien Alphonse Francois.
I think it's donation.
Yeah, I want to say Don Etienne, right?
I mean, that's literally it's a corruption of that.
Donatien. Anyway, Francois was born into an atmosphere of power and privilege. Privilege. Noblesse oblige. Yeah. His mother was a relative of the ruling administration, and his father served as an ambassador. When Donatien was just 2 years old, he was sent to live with his paternal grandmother and her 5 daughters in what has been described as a sexually promiscuous atmosphere. The women reportedly lavished attention on the boy, although it is debatable just what sort of attention it was. After 2 years there, Donatien was sent to live with his father's brother, who was ostensibly a man of the cloth. Francois' uncle was rather notorious for frequently engaging in decadent sex with numerous male and female partners. He also had a considerable collection of pornographic literature, uncommon at the time. The young boy spent a
friends be like, "What up?"
Yeah, I mean, so McGowan is trying to make you think that this is more recent than that. But I see you've put together who this is. Let's see. After 6 years there, he was uprooted. Pornographic literature. The young boy spent a considerable amount of time reading through his uncle's collection. A foreshadow of things to come. After 6 years there, he was uprooted once again and sent to live at a religious prep school. At the school, he was subjected to harsh and frequent punishment from his caretakers, including being frequently sodomized. The young man was also taught the importance of confessing his sins as the means to identify and eliminate personal weakness. Following his years at the prep school, Donatien was enrolled in a military academy, after which he entered into military service. Due to his family connections, he entered as a lieutenant, whereas the English would say a lieutenant, and was soon placed in an elite special forces unit. He left the military after 8 years, holding the rank of captain, and at that time married a woman from a socially prominent family. She would serve as his accomplice in many of his subsequent crimes, and his new mother-in-law would actively work to free him from various legal entanglements. Wow, you know what? Most people don't have such a good relationship with their in-laws. Good for him. Yeah. His first arrest, some 10 days after a violent sexual assault on a woman, came some 10 days after a violent sexual assault on a woman, 10 days after he came. It is said to have raped her with a religious icon and likely to have whipped her as well. For this, he served less than 3 weeks in jail. Shortly thereafter, he went to live in a secluded, fortified family estate that had at one time served as a jail. Within a year or two of his arrival, he had built a secret room. He also hosted frequent parties that were notable for featuring what were euphemistically dubbed orgies. What is that a euphemism for?
Yes, they're coining it. They're coining it right here.
They're coining it. Yes. Let's Randall Shirker for another $5. Thank you. Every single one of these stories is just an advertisement for Never Goon being the solution to many problems. That's right. The ultimate goon. The ultimate consequences of gooning are laid bare here. Let's see. These parties were attended by various members of the ruling elite and the clergy, including Donatien's aforementioned uncle. Within a few years of taking up residence in the estate, Francois was once again arrested. Once again, he had violently assaulted a young woman on Easter Sunday, forcing her to strip and then binding her, sexually assaulting her, and whipping her with a cat-o'-nine-tails. He then left her locked up, but she was able to escape out a window. She was found running from the estate, half naked and covered in her own blood. For that assault, Francois served just 4 months before being once again released. It almost seems like he's like these incarcerations are something of a refractory period for him. But shortly thereafter,
every time, doesn't it?
What?
Seems to get worse every time, doesn't it?
It does. Shortly thereafter, Donatien rejoined the military, elevated to the rank of colonel despite his criminal past. It was not long before he once again ran afoul of the law.
The problem with this dude is he's endlessly based.
It is that the problem is he is too much a patriot for France. That's right. I mean, honestly, like what if your job is torturing people, right? If your job is torturing people, well, then this guy's gone to prison for torturing people. You should hire him. And he's got a military history. Give him a promotion. Put him in charge of all of the torturers. Let's see. Francois and a male accomplice reportedly engaged the services of 4 prostitutes, as well as the services of each other. There was, of course, the requisite whipping involved. Following the encounter, the women became violently ill and grew convinced that they had been poisoned. When police went to arrest Donatien and his accomplice, they found that someone had tipped them off to the impending arrest, and the men had fled. By the end of the year, however, Donatien was in custody, and he once again served prison time. For what? Poisoning a prostitute?
Well, if somebody bothered to say it back then, it's likely...
the pimp sued for vandalism.
Yeah.
That's right. He escaped in scare quotes, after less than 5 months, curiously leaving behind a note claiming full credit for engineering the escape and explicitly clearing his captors of any culpability. Strangely enough, though, the escape occurred on, of all days, April 30th, Walpurgisnacht. Wouldn't you know it? It was Walpurgisnacht. This is our first
birthday.
This is our first episode since Walpurgisnacht. Can you believe it? Can you believe Walpurgisnacht came so soon? It's like the year. It's 2026 and we're already through Walpurgisnacht.
Yep.
In short order, what?
Time flies.
Time flies.
It'll be Michaelmas soon.
It'll be Michaelmas. That's right. In short order, Francois was back at the family estate, with authorities making occasional raids on the compound in an alleged attempt to arrest the escaped convict. His activities, meanwhile, grew increasingly disturbing. Shortly after his return, he began staging what some accounts refer to euphemistically as extended orgies. Wait, we said euphemistically twice. What? How is it not?
Maybe just a lot more is going on.
Yeah, okay. That hardly seems a fair description of what occurred, however, since some of the participants were young boys and girls being held at the estate, many of whom had been abducted. Okay, all right, well, fair enough. The victims were abused continuously for several... They were probably peasants. They were probably peasants.
Yeah, come on.
Abducting a peasant. Abducting a peasant. That's just shoplifting.
This is you can tell how close to the revolution we are because like he gets in trouble for this.
Yeah, no kidding. Let's see. Young boys and excuse me. Young boys and girls being held at the estate, many of whom he had abducted or had been abducted. The victims were abused continuously for several weeks, assisted by his wife and at least 3 other adults. There's always a Ghislaine in these mixes, isn't there? Just like a ride or die bitch who's really, really just a class A pervert.
Yeah.
You know? She just likes to stand by her man. Stand by her man. They were a good They were a good pair. You know, they were a good match for each other.
It works out this way. So Dare to Love Club.
Dare to Love Club. That's right. That's right. Let's see. Francois, assisted by his wife and at least 3 other adults, Francois inflicted all manner of torture and sexual abuse on the victims. Whipping was a preferred means of torture, along with burning with heated implements. Donatien also had a fondness for sodomizing his victims and for forcing them to eat excrement, which he himself indulged in as well. Despite the gravity of his crimes, legal action was not immediately taken. It was several months before police finally raided the estate in search of the escaped convict, kidnapper, torturer, rapist, and pedophile. A quintuple threat, even. Though the suspect was reportedly hiding in the estate, his pursuers failed to locate him. A little more than a year later, he was still free and was back at the property, accompanied by a number of young.
Going back to the same place. He's like, I'm
going back to the fuck shack. Yep.
Everybody knows he's there.
Everyone knows he's at the fuck shack. A little more than a year later, he was still free and back at the property, accompanied by a number of young women and girls procured for him by a member of the clergy. A few months later, he was finally arrested and imprisoned, but he quickly escaped once again, only to be recaptured a month later. Okay. Following his recapture, he remained in prison for 13 years, during which time he wrote prolifically of his fascination with torture, coprophilia, technically coprophagia, pedophilia, and various other depravities. Amazingly enough, just 2 years after his release, he held political office. The opposite of the order that we would recognize today, but good on him. Really bouncing back. A decade later, he was confined to a mental institution where he spent the last 12 years of his life once again writing of rape, torture, and murder. After his death at the age of 74, paid for his crimes, died at the ripe old age of 74. His oldest son burned most of his writings, though some survived. Donatien's full regal title was Donatien Alphonse Francois Comte de Sade, but he is better known as the Marquis de Sade. His crimes were... everyone saw that coming, right? Lots of people saw the Marquis de Sade coming. But everyone got that that's who we were talking about.
This is the first time David's gone into somebody... I've read the majority of the Marquis de Sade's writing, I think. Probably.
Okay. They didn't mention any of his plays, you know?
They never do. Nobody ever talks about the drama. Nobody ever talks about the poetry.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we all should go buy my book.
Everyone should go buy Christopher Sandbatch's book. It's about being a convicted kidnapper, torturer, rapist, and pedophile. It's not about any of those things. Yeah, but before you rush out to buy the bibliography of the Marquis de Sade, consider buying the bibliography of Christopher Sandbatch.
Yeah.
But he's only got one. He's only got one book so far. Although there are more coming soon, trademark soon. And we will also all be reading those. But yes, it even has a French title. Does it not?
Oui.
Oui, un jeune fille. That's Je suis Mosey. That's the only it's the only French I know, and it's from an advertisement that I saw on Saturday morning cartoons when I was a kid for the Muzzy tapes.
Are you done? This
I'm so done.
This is anti-Cajun action.
Anti-Cajun action? What do you mean?
This is
okay.
To stand up on behalf of the illiterates in Louisiana.
Amazing. Anti-Cajun action. All right, I'll get the flag. What colors does anti-Cajun action wear? Let's see here. His crimes were committed over 200 years ago, all around the time that America was declaring its independence. Yet even as these words were being written, he is being revived and rehabilitated on America's movie screens. The Encyclopedia Britannica provides the following assessment of the Marquis de Sade, open quote, de Sade is to some an incarnation of absolute evil who advocates the unleashing of instincts, even to the point of crime. Others have looked upon him as a champion of total liberation through the satisfaction of his desires in all forms. It's the same picture. Virtually, those same words have been used to eulogize other such notorious figures as Aleister Crowley and Anton LaVey, both of whose later musings echoed the writings of the Marquis. I'll tell you, of the people, Anton LaVey probably committed the fewest actual moral crimes.
It's like one of these, I don't want to get into that, but I am willing to say that like nobody beats the Marquis. Like he was the best at that.
He was a giant. Yep. If others have raped farther, it is because they stood on the shoulders of giant rapists.
Yeah.
That's it's true. I mean, the guy whose title became the literal word for enjoying inflicting cruelty on other people, aka sadism. If you do it so well, your name is the term. I don't know. You topping that, right? What's LaVeyism? What's LaVey? You ever Crowley'd someone? Too specific a maneuver, right? You don't get the general term. That's de Sade. De Sade gets the general term. Perhaps the most cogent analysis of those writings was provided by Alex Steiner, a contributor to the World Socialist website. Oh, this is going to be great.
This is going to be great.
Steiner noted that the Steiner is that you think that's an Irish name? Noted that the clearest formulation of de Sade's philosophy appears in his Philosophy in the Bedroom. It has philosophy in the title, which features a philosophical interlude. Philosophy again, same word. With that interlude lies a philosophical defense argued in the language of the Enlightenment, but not, of course, in the spirit of the Enlightenment, that presents a justification for incest, rape, murder, and cruelty. Actually, we could say that is the ultimate consequence of liberalism. That this, and
it's not even the ultimate consequence. They got started right out of the gate. We're like, I mean, it's what he was. He was a liberal. De
Sade was like, guys, it's pretty obvious to me sitting here right now that this whole liberty, fraternity, equality means that we're all going to be fucking each other and eating doo-doos.
Yeah, so, this is literally what he says. The whole thing is a giant
clusterfuck.
Pretty much it.
Yeah. Let's see. Which presents. That interlude is said to have been published separately in 1848 under the title "Yet Another Effort, Frenchmen, If You Would Become Republicans." It was intended for distribution as a political manifesto. Among other things, the track contained a defense of murder as a legitimate civil activity used to weed out the weaker members of society. Based. Steiner also noted that writer and film director Pier Paolo Pasolini, footnote on that, but I'll finish the sentence, saw in de Sade the antecedents of fascism. 49 footnote on Pasolini. Strangely enough, Pasolini was killed in an apparent ritual murder in 1975. The slain leftist was discovered just 2 days after Halloween with his head bludgeoned beyond recognition. Well, clearly not. They recognized him. UK author Janet Street Porter.
Poking holes right in this one. We're
Ridiculous
gonna get to the
name.
bottom of this. Now that's what our next book is. Sorry, Randall Sugar. We're gonna get to the bottom of this Pasolini thing.
UK author Janet Street Porter noted that the only few weeks before his death, he had written a series of newspaper articles attacking his compatriots, saying they had become obsessed with crime and had abandoned genuine values for those of the bourgeois consumer society. I mean, any man who wrote that sentence could use a bludgeoning. Yeah. Let's see. One of the defining characteristics of de Sade's philosophy was his view of society is composed of atomistic individuals potentially engaged in a war of all against all, which is, of course, precisely the direction in which Western society is being driven. True. Perhaps the most revealing passage in Steiner's piece reads as follows. De Sade's state of nature is a veritable hell on earth. Perhaps de Sade's alleged Satanism is an appropriate metaphor of his philosophy. It could be reasonably argued that Satanism was more than just a metaphor of de Sade's philosophy. It was his philosophy. As Steiner notes, de Sade is unwilling to allow any restraints on his ability to exploit, mistreat, and even destroy other human beings in the pursuit of pleasure. That same notion is now the mantra of modern Satanists, expressed by Crowley and others as "do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law." And speaking of dramas, have you ever seen Quills? Sandbatch? The film.
No.
Jeffrey Rush plays the Marquis de Sade. Great.
Oh, then yeah.
It's so good. It's so good.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely great. Actually, you know what? Probably do a drive time on that. Probably do a little drive time on that. Sade only had one occupation in his long life, which really absorbed him, that of enumerating to the point of exhaustion the possibilities of destroying human life, destroying them, and of enjoying the thought of their death and suffering. Georges Bataille. You just gotta slur it out at the end. Just slur it out. Let's see here. Randall Shirker. I'll buy Sandbatch's book when I finally get a Steam controller.
Damn.
You know, you had like more than a month to buy his book before the Steam controller even came out, and then 30 minutes during which you could have bought a Steam controller and subsequently bought Sandbatch's book.
What's a Steam controller?
It is a new video game control apparatus that was released just today.
You video gamers.
You gamers. That's right. Remember, Jolly on West was a reactionary, despite him taking time to participate in sit-ins and protesting for the CRA. Look,
is that Dave or me? Is that Dave or me?
What?
Are you quoting? Did Dave say that?
Randall Shirker said that.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's totally true. Totally fucking true. Like Jolly West was alt-right.
Anyway, more than 3 centuries before the birth of de Sade, another Frenchman was providing a blueprint for the Marquis to later follow. Born in 1406 in the Black Tower of his family's castle at Champtos, maybe, I don't know. Gilles de Rais was the eldest son of one of the wealthiest men in all of France, Guy de Rais. Gilles' mother was Marie de Cran, the daughter of Jean de Cran, who was also one of the wealthiest and most politically powerful men in the country. In 1415, was Giles was
Gilles.
Gilles the I'm pretty sure one of the de Rais was a like a lieutenant for Joan of Arc.
A lieutenant, you mean?
A lieutenant for Joan of Arc, for Jeanne d'Arc.
I mean, we're on the right timeline here. 14, yeah.
In 1415, Guy de Rais was reportedly gored to death by a boar while hunting. Based way to die. That same,
that's a lot of times that was like, when you die in an autoerotic asphyxiation.
They said he got gored by a boar.
Yeah.
Okay. That same year, Gilles' mother died as well, as did her brother, Amaury de Cran, who was slain in the legendary battle at Agincourt.
Got that motherfucker.
Got him. English longbow straight to the fucking dick.
The longbow stories that more accurately describes the victory at the Battle of Crécy, which
we've all read the comic.
No, because Crécy is it's a very important battle for the Sandbatch bloodline, because there was a fellow there who was elevated to the aristocracy for his conduct in battle, for
sliding his misericordia through more noble helms than he was able to count, which was 10. Was the number he was able to count.
This is 10. He knew exactly, and he didn't even really know the words for 10. He can get to 10.
This many holds up both hands.
Yeah. You're now the Earl of Durry.
Yep.
But yeah, the ancestor of the Sandbatch,
Sandbatch. As Amaury had been Jean de Cran's only son, the rapid succession of deaths left young Gilles as the sole heir to both the de Rais and de Cran family fortunes. In 1420, Gilles kidnapped and then married his cousin, Catherine de Tours, whose family had vast land holdings adjacent to the properties owned by the de Rais and de Cran families. Isn't it amazing that like you can kidnap someone and forcibly marry them and that the marriage works? Like the marriage is like, oh, you got married.
Unfortunately, it says here he followed all the rules.
Yeah. He followed all the kidnapping rules. Yeah, we used to be.
No, those are real. There were in fact kidnapping rules.
I know. Yeah, I know. France used to be a proper country. And then married his cousin, whose family had vast land holdings adjacent to the properties owned by the de Rais and de Cran families. At just 16 years of age, Gilles de Rais stood poised to become the wealthiest man in France, by some accounts, possibly the richest man in all of Europe. Following the death of his parents, Gilles was raised by his grandfather, Jean de Cran, and was trained as a knight and a soldier. By 1429, he had been named the Marshal of France, making him the highest-ranking military figure in the country, roughly equivalent to the post today of Secretary of Defense. Serving alongside of him was someone who is now regarded as the patron saint of France, Joan of Arc. Jeanne d'Arc was said to hear voices in her head, not unlike numerous others whose stories have filled the pages of this book. Fuck you, David. She also reportedly had visions, which she apparently attributed to divine guidance.
I have a psychosexual connection to
Joan of Arc,
crazy art ho scientists, like medieval martyrs. There is not in my book, but in my Spectra like suite that's in the actual physical copy. There's one that is an erotic poem about a French nun in the same century. And there is I can't believe I said that on the air.
Wait a minute. Hold on. I literally just got done saying that you wrote a Sade-esque poetry collection and you denied it. and yet.
No, that's Inspectra. The bit Inspector.
Okay.
There is a bit
not
about
the specific book I was referencing.
There is a poem in Spectra about Marguerite Porete having sex with her bishop. Yes, and Jesus.
Oh my god! Sandbatch. Big tent. We got the biggest tent on the right. We got the
Anyway,
American de Sade. We got House Representative de Sade over here.
Joan of Arc is the most sexual woman in the history of the world.
Teresa of Avila, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, but you're on the K line there.
Yeah.
And there is a massive goon statue of Joan of Arc right across the street from the French Market in New Orleans, and it is always polished beautifully. But yeah, now Shirker's succumbing to the e-girl hypno again. Yeah, absolutely. Joan of Arc is the first e-girl. Yeah, absolutely. Heard it here first.
Yeah, Joan of Arc is the first e-girl. Before electricity, there were e-girls awaiting convention. Traveling with it is less insulting to call her the first e-girl than it is to call her to imply that she was crazy. But yeah,
I just saw it disappear from the video after Sandbatch said but anyways, Joan of Arc, incredible. She's 5'6", perfect probably auburn hair, huge blue eyes. She's literate against all odds.
That's actually a downside in women.
Maybe she's not. That's even hotter. You're right. Yeah, she's just dude.
Just looks at the book and projects what it means.
Yeah, she's the most perfect ever.
All right,
but I'm glad we killed her.
Okay. because I couldn't get off if she hadn't been burned to death.
I mean, she's
Anyway, traveling with a 10,000 man army
and an insurrectionist.
Traveling with a 10,000 man army and accompanied by her general and advisor Gilles de Rais, Joan was credited with saving France by lifting the siege of Orleans, a crucial battle in the 100 Years' War between France and England. Shortly after that, Gilles was given the honor of personally crowning France's new king, Charles VII.
Charlie VII.
Joan of Arc sat on the new king's side during the coronation. Joan's fortunes turned quickly, however. She was captured by the Duke of Burgundy the next year and accused by the Brits of heresy and sorcery.
She did it.
She was burned at the stake on May 30th, 1431.
Yeah, got her.
The next year, de Rais ended his public career and retired along with his entourage to a family castle at Machault, which was just one of 5 lavish country estates that Gilles then owned. Footnote on Joan of Arc's burning. According to a report in Pravda, Ukrainian anthropologist Sergei Gorbenko determined that it was some other woman with her face cloaked who burned at the stake that day. Joan of Arc, also known as Marguerite de Champdivers, the daughter of King Karl VI and his mistress Odetta de Champdivers, lived to the age of 57. Gorbenko based his findings on an examination of a collection of skulls of the French royal family housed at the Notre Dame Cathedral, and on the correspondence among royal family members and other historical artifacts. Joan of Arc was not executed. She died at 57 in an article published in January in 2004 in Pravda. Well, that sounds like fucking slander.
I can't decide if Dave is endorsing this theory or if he's just including it for reference.
I think he might just be including it for reference, but also it seems like he's endorsing it. It seems like he's endorsing it. Yeah. Anyway. The arrival of Machault's new residence was accompanied almost immediately by the disappearance of local children. First child was abducted in 1432 by Gilles de Rais, a cousin of Gilles de Rais. The kidnappings continued uninterrupted for nearly a decade. The victims were taken to the de Rais castle, where they were brutally and ritualistically slaughtered by Gilles and his accomplices. As the years went by, the list of those accomplices grew, numbering both men and women. Among his more notorious accomplices were Roger de Briqueville, another cousin, and a woman named Perrine Martin, who was also known as La Meffraye, or the Terror. Another known accomplice was a man named Etienne Correlot, who was also known as Poito, which, whatever that means. He was apparently initially brought to the castle as a victim, but he was spared for unknown reasons. He he was just like, you know what, guys? I think I could be of use to you. He just walked right up and gave him a firm handshake and said, instead of slaughtering me, what if I helped you slaughter others? Wouldn't that be fun?
That's how the Dean Corll thing went down.
You just do a heel turn.
Yeah, just do it. We talked about Dean Corll, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, like that, his little accomplice. That was how they met him. He was supposed to be a victim.
Like, yeah, I guess another pair of hands would be handy, wouldn't it?
And how the business of killing and raping small children, how are you gonna come by accomplices? Like, this is probably something that takes up most of your day. You know, like you don't have time to interview employees.
Yeah, you know what? You gotta HR is the hardest part of being a serial murderer.
Yeah.
It's the hardest part. If only there was a platform where we could scale this. The rest of the abductees were not so lucky. At the hands of de Rais and his numerous accomplices, they were subjected to torture, rape, and sadistic mutilation. Gilles took great pleasure in watching his victims die, frequently raping them or masturbating on them as they were in their death throes. Gilles was also deeply involved in occultism, necromancy, and alchemy. Many of the child victims' dismembered and disemboweled body parts were reportedly used in rituals that were aimed at summoning demons. Some reports hold that the blood of some victims was used to write a book of spells and incantations. De Rais' fatal mistake was apparently the kidnapping of a priest. The church had been aware for years of the recurrent hushed reports of abducted children, but had chosen to ignore them. It was common knowledge among the townspeople that the missing children had been tortured and killed, but they were powerless to voice their accusations against the unfathomably wealthy and powerful Gilles de Rais. In 1440, the accusations were finally made public by the church. Gilles de Sille and Roger de Briqueville promptly disappeared into one of history's black holes. On September 14th, arrest warrants were issued for de Rais and several of his remaining cohorts. Does anyone else think that there's some sort of de Rais-esque cabal operating in the modern day? Hard to say, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've been to Comet. I believe it all.
Yep. You've been to the basement at Comet Ping Pong.
No, I've never been to the basement. When I was in there, I went to the bath. I didn't feel anything. I went to the bathroom and something felt really creepy. I was like, oh, man.
Something felt creepy in the bathroom?
Yeah. I mean, it's all been remodeled and shit, but it was just a vibe, you know?
Yeah. A little drafty in one spot. A secret wall swung open. Yeah. Stairs leading down as far as the eye could see. A single bare bulb. Yeah. Let's see. On October 13th, 1440, de Rais was indicted on 34 counts of murder, sodomy, and heresy. The indictments held that 140 children had been abducted over the course of 14 years. Seems like less than you'd expect. 10 a year, less than one a month. Seems like he had a lot of people with him. I mean, you'd think they'd use up, more than one kid a month. Many historians have denied that the killings began that early, primarily because acknowledging that to be the case would necessitate a reevaluation of the revered Joan of Arc. There is considerable debate about the number of victims as well. Some accounts claim that the figure of 140 is grossly inflated. Otherwise, however, contend that the actual victim count was somewhere between 200 and 800. The true number is most likely forever lost to history. According to one account, the dismembered remains of 50 children were found in the tower at Mashul Castle, and a similar number were discovered at another of the de Rais estates. An untold number of other victims had apparently been cremated. How long did it take him to cremate that?
How long did it take?
15th century technology. De Rais confessed to many of his crimes, but he steadfastly refused to admit to the charge of heresy. Both he and the church apparently felt that heresy was a more serious offense than sadistically murdering scores of what were, after all, peasant children. True. It is, actually. Gilles ultimately did confess to all of his crimes, either due to the threat of or the actual application of torture, depending on which account one chooses to believe. On October 26th, he was sent to the gallows and executed. Gilles de Rais reportedly claimed that he had patterned his life after Caligula, the notoriously depraved Roman emperor.
We're running out of examples at this point.
He is said by some to have provided the inspiration for the mythical Bluebeard. He also, needless to say, provided the inspiration for countless others who have followed in his footsteps. You're running out of examples.
Yeah, I mean, like they're like running out of like examples further in the past.
Yeah. Also, he could have gone with Commodus. Could have gone with Commodus instead of Caligula because it was a little closer, right? And then Commodus could be really. I think Commodus, was after Caligula. Yeah, for sure. It was definitely after Nero. So many depraved rulers we could count. We could note. I'm no psycho. I have a good mind. Howard Unruh, responding to a query from an arresting officer. Long before spree killers became a fixture of American society, terrorizing the nation's schools and workplaces, there was Howard Unruh. Howard was, like the other young men of his generation, drafted by the United States Army and sent off to war. He was trained to kill, and he apparently performed that task quite well as a machine gunner. It was later discovered that he had kept a diary of his war experiences. All of his kills were carefully recorded, complete with the date, time, and place of each killing. Most importantly, Howard included a detailed description of how each of his victims looked in death. He received a number of commendations for his exemplary service. Interesting. There's no dates, so I don't know what war this was. I mean, I guess maybe World War I, right?
Yeah.
Would be the first one. After returning from the war, he grew increasingly estranged from his parents with whom he was living. Eventually became something of a recluse, spending much of his time indulging in a hobby he had acquired in the army, collecting, admiring, and practicing with various lethal weapons. Just a normal chud. Then one day, Howard Unruh just sort of went off. Armed with a 9mm handgun and a backup weapon, he took a brisk stroll through downtown Camden, New Jersey, along the way shooting 16 people, 13 of whom died instantly. He proved to be a remarkably efficient assassin, robotically shooting most of his victims twice, once in the head and once in the torso. He walked door to door, from a cobbler shop to a barber shop, and then to a pharmacy, and finally a tailor. He killed almost everyone he encountered and reportedly remained expressionless throughout the rampage. His youngest victim was just 3 years old. Running low on ammunition, harder to shoot a 3-year-old in the head. Running low on ammunition, Unruh soon retreated to his house. His entire killing spree had lasted just 12 minutes. No sooner was he back home than a local reporter phoned the house. What followed was what J. Robert Nash, described as one of the strangest phone conversations in the annals of crime. Unruh: hello, Philip Buxton. Is this Howard? Yes, this is Howard. What is the last name of the party you want? Unruh. Who are you and what do you want? I'm a friend and I want to know what they're doing to you. Well, they haven't done anything to me yet, but I'm doing plenty to them. How many have you killed? I don't know yet. Haven't counted them, but it looks like a pretty good score. Why are you killing people, Howard? I don't know. I can't answer that yet. Too busy. I'll have to talk to you later. With his house surrounded by dozens of armed officers, Howard Unruh walked out and calmly gave himself up. He never faced trial for the killings. Instead, he was declared incurably insane and committed to the New Jersey State Mental Hospital for a life term. According to recent reports, he is still there, more than half a century later. That doesn't seem likely, does it?
You know, whatever.
Howard Unruh died in 2009. Wild. Huh. Interesting.
These people live a long time.
Yeah, but the Camden shootings took place in 1949.
Yeah.
Like, he died on October 19th, 2009, aged 88.
I think it's not that old. You know, I mean, it's pretty old.
Pretty old. 88 is pretty old. You know what? The best revenge you can take on society is living a full, long life.
Right. I mean, you gotta live your best life every day, even if it's... You
gotta live your best life every day. Isn't it interesting that he said he had a pretty good score, right? He had gamified it, right? Before the invention of video games, he was treating it like an actual sport. Yep. Interesting. For the highest spiritual working, one must accordingly choose that victim which contains the greatest and purest force. A male child of perfect innocence and high intelligence is the most satisfactory and suitable victim. Aleister Crowley, Magic in Theory and Practice. It was pointed out to me recently that I read like L. Ron Hubbard read.
Interesting.
There are lots of recordings of L. Ron Hubbard, and sometimes my intonation and his slip eerily close to each other.
Yeah.
And I have said recently that one of the things I would love to have is a cult and a navy. And it would be nice to have both. It would be nice to have both. So if anyone wants to join the Capitalisimo Sea Force, just let me know. It helps if you have a boat, because I don't. So let me know. Let me know if you got a boat and a will. Well, I'll bend it to mine. So, before Jean-Benet Ramsey, there was the Eaglet, otherwise known as Charles Augustus Lindbergh Jr. His mother was Anne Morrow Lindbergh, born on the summer solstice to Dwight Morrow, U.S. ambassador to Mexico, one time partner at J.P. Morgan, and close associate of OSS director and MKUltra operative Wild Bill Donovan. His father, of course, was famed aviator Charles Augustus Lindbergh, not to be confused with Richard Speck's stepfather, Carl August Lindbergh. Lindbergh's father, in turn, was a prominent attorney and United States congressman, also named Charles Augustus Lindbergh. And his grandfather had been a member of the Swedish Parliament before moving the family to the United States in 1860. Charles's mother was Evangeline Land, a daughter of Dr. Charles Land. The Lands, like the Lindberghs, Morrows, and Donovans, were closely tied to the American intelligence infrastructure. Dr. Edwin Land was later the driving force behind the U-2 spy plane project and the chairman of an intelligence subcommittee. He was also the great-grandfather of noted philosopher Nick Land of the CCRU. He also founded the Scientific Engineering Institute, which served as one of the major funding conduits for MKUltra projects.
Whoa!
Wow! Wow! I made up the part about Nick Land. Yeah. They're not related. In 1905, Charles and Evangeline's family farmhouse burned down, and the couple thereafter lived apart, although they remained married. Charles Sr. was soon inaugurated as a U.S. congressman. The junior Charles remained with his mother, and for the rest of his childhood, Evangeline kept him away from others. She was so hated by the local townspeople that on at least one occasion, shots were reportedly fired at her and her son. Amazing. Amazing. Just fuck these people. Yeah, let's see. Randall Shirker says, I'll note that by about the time of MKUltra, Wild Bill was basically staying at his house in the Georgetown set and sulking as he had been passed over for leading the CIA. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Let's see. Fascinated with both guns and aviation, Charles joined the Army Air Corps in 1924. 3 years later, he made his famed transatlantic flight and instantly became an international celebrity. After touring the country and basking in the mass adulation, as well as picking up a Congressional Medal of Honor, Lindbergh stayed at the opulent Guggenheim estate, where he passed the time with such notables as John D. Rockefeller Jr., Herbert Hoover, Theodore Roosevelt Jr., and Dwight Morrow. By December 1927, Morrow had introduced Charles to his daughter Anne. Reportedly engaged after just 3 dates, the couple was married in May 1929. Just over a year later, on the summer solstice of 1930, yet another Charles Augustus Lindbergh was born. Around that same time, Charles began working at the Rockefeller Institute in New York alongside Alexis Carrel, a eugenics-minded researcher who openly called for the mass extermination of the unfit. Based. I've never read anything Alexis Carrel wrote, but I'm sure we'd be of a mind. Lindbergh chroniclers Algren and Monnier described Carrel as a strange individual who wore a black hooded robe in the laboratory and insisted that all of his lab assistants do the same. Amazing. What a vibe. Lindbergh also acquired a plane to use for survey flights, which he christened the Sirius, so named for the brightest star in the night sky, located in the constellation Canis Major. Also known as the Dog Star, it is believed by some occultists to represent Lucifer, the light bearer or enlightened one. On March 1st, 1932, also Charles Lindbergh was a Freemason. Just noting that. And a 33rd degree Scottish Rite, I believe. On March 1st, 1932, the eaglet disappeared from the Lindbergh family home, a rambling, newly built 2-story mansion in Hopewell, New Jersey. According to American popular mythology, the child was kidnapped from the isolated, remote, and occupied home. The facts of this case have never supported that notion. You know who did it?
Who?
Jesse Owens.
Yeah.
No one's catching him. Fastest man alive. Yep. That's why Jesse Owens' son is white and looks exactly like Charles Lindbergh. You never looked that one up. People just don't follow the money. The money was Jesse Owens' nickname. They called him the money.
Jesse the Money Owens.
Jesse the Money Owens. Any kidnapper would have known the exact location of the child's second-story room and would have had to know that the shutters on the window of that particular room were the only ones in the house that did not properly latch. It would have also helped to know that Charles Lindbergh, a newly built house and the shutters don't properly latch. It is so hard to find good help in the 1930s.
Yeah.
It would have also helped to know that Charles Lindbergh had ordered the child not to be disturbed before 10 p.m. that evening, and that there would be, therefore, little risk of discovery by any of the 5 adults who were moving freely about the house that evening. The kidnapper would have had to enter a well-lit home that was owned by a man with a known penchant for firearms, and do so without alarming the extremely high-strung dog that was known to bark at the slightest provocation, but that nevertheless never barked that entire evening. The kidnapper would further have had to know that the Lindberghs were going to be home that night, since it was not in their custom to stay at the house during the week. Other than on weekends, the family would usually be found at Next Day Hill, the country estate of the Morrow family in Englewood, New Jersey. Charles Lindbergh had requested an unusual deviation from the normal family routine, just as he had requested that no one enter his son's room that evening. Upon discovering that the child was missing, Lucky Lindy immediately declared that there had been a kidnapping before making any effort to search the house and before the discovery of an alleged ransom note. And Lindbergh's first thought was that Charles had done something with the boy. The child's nursemaid, Betty Gow, drew the same conclusion. That was in part due to Charles having staged a fake abduction just 2 months prior by hiding the child in a closet for 20 minutes and announcing a kidnapping while the household panicked. This time, however, Charles produced a ransom note, which he claimed he found on the windowsill of the nursery after the room had already been thoroughly searched by Anne, Betty, and another family servant, Elsie Watley. Charles Lindbergh promptly made a series of phone calls. The first was to his friend and attorney, Colonel Henry Breckinridge, former Assistant Secretary of War. The next was to Colonel H. Norman Schwarzkopf. Footnote on Schwarzkopf: he was a West Point graduate, World War I veteran, and the father of George Bush's future Desert Storm commander. He later played a key role in the CIA-sponsored coup that installed the Shah of Iran. Another friend and the head of New Jersey State Police, a law enforcement agency designed and run as a military entity. The third was Colonel William Wild Bill Donovan. All three colonels joined in the investigation. Breckinridge brought along Robert Thayer, a known associate of various organized crime figures. Thayer, who was married to a Standard Oil heiress, was later identified as a CIA agent working under the State Department cover. To ensure that there were enough intelligence operatives in the mix, Admiral Emery S. Land later became peripherally involved in the investigation as well. Look, if you have these connections, I'm just like, not Lucifer's advocate here, okay? But if I had all of these spook connections and my kid went missing, you damn well bet that I'd call them before I called like Johnny Patrolman at 911. You know what I mean?
You're right.
Like it's not weird that he would call all these people. If your kid actually is missing, you call your heaviest hitter connections. Besides,
there's all kinds of reasons to be like sort of embarrassed about it happening, you know.
I mean, also besides the fact that he was extremely famous, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, it just creates a frenzy.
Yeah, exactly. So you would call your like loyal people in high places if you had them, right? Lindbergh appeared calm, cool, and collected to police arriving at the scene. He immediately took command of the investigation in conjunction with Colonel Schwarzkopf. The Colonel's state police badly mishandled the investigation right from the start by failing to secure the crime scene, which compromised every piece of potential evidence in sight. They did, though, quickly set up a command post in the Lindbergh's garage, bring in extra phone lines, and begin a full-scale media circus that possibly topped even the Ramsey spectacle. Before long, reporters were allowed to join with the police in freely trampling over potential evidence. The only piece of evidence that does appear to have been gathered was a crudely constructed ladder that allegedly was used to enter the second-story window of the Lindbergh child's room. The room itself yielded no evidence whatsoever. As trooper on the scene exclaimed after the room had been thoroughly dusted for fingerprints, "I'm damned if I don't think somebody washed everything in that nursery before the printman got here." The investigation essentially went nowhere for the next several weeks. The only major development was that Lindbergh enlisted the services of a number of organized crime figures, ostensibly to assist in solving the crime and locating the child. Lindy even attempted to secure the release from prison of the notorious Al Scarface Capone. I mean, if someone was secretly ransoming him and they were, organized crime, right?
Right.
I'm just saying these are not necessarily incriminating actions. On May 12th, 1932, the mutilated and decomposed corpse of a child was found less than 3 miles from the Lindbergh home. The body was discovered, in scare quotes, in a remote location where there was only one building nearby, a Catholic orphanage directly across the road. The corpse's left leg was missing below the knee, as was his left hand, right arm, and most of his internal organs. A ludicrously inept autopsy was promptly performed on the body. He's dead because he's missing his legs and organs. Although it was claimed at the time that the examination was performed by Dr. Charles Mitchell, it was actually the work of funeral home director Walter Swayze, who was entirely unqualified for the task. The fact was kept covered up for some 45 years. The cause of death, if the autopsy report is to be believed, was from a blow to the head. Though no photographs were taken of the skull during the examination, it was claimed that there was evidence of a fracture and resultant blood clot, as well as a small round hole in the base of the skull. Charles Lindbergh, adrenochrome. Charles Lindbergh himself positively identified the body as that of his missing child. His daughter, Reeve, later stated, "He would have examined the teeth, he would have examined the hair, he would have checked the clothing, any physical evidence. That would have been where he would find that would have been where he would find relief would have been in the facts. It is unlikely that Lindbergh did any of that. He reportedly was in and out of the morgue in less than 90 seconds. In truth, all he really needed to check was a tape measure. The body that was discovered was 33 inches tall, according to Swayze's autopsy report, whereas the missing Lindbergh child was only 29 inches tall, as listed on the wanted posters distributed around the country. The boy's own physician, who spent more time with the corpse than Lindbergh, was unable to positively identify the remains.
Huh.
The body was most likely not that of the eaglet, and Charles Lindbergh Sr. must surely have been aware that even as he claimed the dead child as his own and ordered its immediate destruction, less than 24 hours after being discovered, the body had been cremated and the ashes scattered at sea. And Lindbergh would later say that she never saw Charles shed a tear for the slain boy. As the investigation progressed, a number of people connected to the disappearance met with untimely deaths or otherwise dropped out of sight. Morrow family maid, Violet Sharp, allegedly killed herself with cyanide just before a visit from the head of the state police in June 1932. Schwarzkopf claimed that he found her dead upon his arrival. He had been, by most accounts, relentlessly and unconscionably harassing the woman. A German-born gardener, Henry Leopold, who was at one time considered a suspect and who one handwriting expert thought was the author of the ransom note, allegedly killed himself in October 1933. Oliver Watley, another household servant and potential witness, died of unspecified causes before the case made it to trial. Betty Gow's boyfriend, Red Johnson, was held by police without being charged for 18 days before he was shipped off to Norway, never to be heard from again. Johnson had worked for a business partner of Dwight Morrow. We got to send the Norwegians back. We got to send them back. We got to send them all back. We got to clear out all the Norwegians.
Clear them out.
Clear them out.
Yeah, I'm about it. I'm had it with the Midwestern bullshit.
Norwegians! On September 19th, 1934, German immigrant Bruno Richard Hauptmann was arrested and charged with the kidnapping and murder of the Lindbergh baby. After being held without access to an attorney, deprived of sleep, and unmercifully beaten, all in an effort to extract a bogus confession, Hauptmann was put in a police lineup alongside two burly Irish cops, one of them still in uniform. He was positively identified. Schwarzkopf's New Jersey State Police promptly moved Hauptmann's wife out of their home, assumed the lease, and moved in. By all appearances, they then proceeded to manufacture and plant evidence. A week after Hauptmann's arrest, an officer living in his former home discovered that the ladder found at the Lindbergh home had been partially constructed from a floorboard allegedly missing from the attic of the Hauptmann home. The trial of Richard Hauptmann was, even relative to the standards established by other trials discussed in this book, a ridiculously transparent sham. Virtually everyone who had studied the case, including those who believed that Hauptmann was guilty, acknowledged that the defense case that was presented was hopelessly inept. Hauptmann's attorney, Edward J. Riley, who was provided for him by the New York Daily Mirror, had only one 15-minute private conference with his client throughout the entire trial. He was visibly inebriated during much of the proceedings. He was also reportedly supplied with a steady stream of attractive young prostitutes throughout the trial. Do not worry, Richard. We will give you many prostitutes. Yeah. Chase Steely generously and with no comment donates $20 via Super Chat.
20 big ones.
Thanks, bud. We appreciate it. Even Riley had been motivated to win the case. Even had Riley been motivated to win the case, it would have been an uphill battle. No deposition of witnesses was allowed and no discovery of evidence was turned over by the state. The prosecution's case was kept completely under wraps until it was revealed at trial, making it impossible to plan a defense. A number of the witnesses called by the state gave obviously perjured testimony that was completely at odds with both prior statements to police and prior testimony before a grand jury. One such witness was Charles Lindbergh himself, who was, amazingly enough, allowed to sit at the prosecution table throughout the trial, packing a loaded handgun in a shoulder holster. Pretty based. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty cool. Yeah. You just get to do it, right? Let's see here. Transcripts of the trial reveal a painfully obvious bias displayed by the judge, who distinguished himself by routinely overruling all defense objections and just as routinely sustaining all prosecution objections. He also openly mocked the case presented by the defense in his final summation to the jury. Despite the obviously stacked deck, however, the defense could have introduced enough reasonable doubt to win an acquittal had the identification of the child's body been challenged. It was not, however, and Hauptmann was quickly found guilty and sentenced to die. Just 2 weeks after the guilty verdict was rendered, defense attorney Riley suffered a complete nervous breakdown. He was quickly shuffled off to a Brooklyn mental hospital in a straitjacket. Just a few weeks later, he was back in action as though nothing had happened. Too many prostitutes. That was prostitute withdrawal. The trial ended. The stream of young, attractive young prostitutes dried up. What?
I wonder what that's like.
What, to just get assigned a bunch of
to get prostitute withdrawal, you know?
Are you saying you've never stopped or you never started?
I never imagined there would be withdrawal from prostitute use.
It's like any addiction. It's like any addiction. You get the shakes. You get the shakes when your last hooker's wearing off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never had that for using them in the intended purpose. I would never do such a thing. But for killing them, you do start shaking. You do start shaking if you don't like, hack one up now and again. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like the Lake Pontchartrain chopper. That's what they call him. That's what they call Sandy. The Pontchartrain chopper. Let's see. Found guilty, sentenced to die. Nothing. All right. Appeals. Nothing ever happens. Appeals to the conviction were summarily denied. The final denial coming from the U.S. Supreme Court on December 9th, 1935, all the way to SCOTUS. New Jersey Governor Hoffman, however, was resisting the wholesale fraud being perpetrated. He openly accused both Schwarzkopf's team and the prosecution team of fabricating evidence, particularly the latter, and he announced his intention to go to the Board of Pardons on Hauptmann's behalf. In the wake of that announcement, the Lindberghs fled the country, bound for the United Kingdom. Hauptmann was executed 3.5 months later in the state prison in Trenton, New Jersey. Johnny Walt sends $5 and says, "Ahoy, Admiral, I have a kayak." Thank you. I appreciate it. I don't know what that means, but I appreciate it.
Library of Destruction Navy. We're getting it off the ground.
That's right. Oh man, I forgot my bit already. All right, a kayak works. You know what? A kayak's a great place to start. One-man craft, small, agile, perfect for commandeering larger vehicles. Right? Johnny Walt, you wouldn't happen to be a dark as pitch, light bulb headed Somalian pirate, would you? Would you, John? If you
epilogue, we're gonna be done with this monstrosity.
We might eventually. There might be an epilogue to the epilogue. P.S. Epilogue. P.S. P.P.S. P.P.P.S.S.S. Lindbergh soon wound up in Nazi Germany, where he developed close ties to the Nazi elite, particularly Luftwaffe Chief Hermann Goering.
How exactly are we defining elite here?
I mean, I'm pretty sure that Hermann Goering counts.
Yeah, that's true.
He also became a mouthpiece for virulently anti-Semitic pro-Nazi propaganda. It was mentioned previously that the Lindberghs immigrated to America from Sweden in 1860. It was at that time that Lindy's grandfather opted to change the family name. Had he not done so, one of America's greatest folk heroes, Charles Lindbergh, would likely have had a much different name, although one perhaps no less well known. Charles Manson, with 2 S's in Manson. Yes, the original family name. Isn't that interesting?
Isn't that the thing?
Funny how Walpurgisnacht didn't come up in this story. Isn't it suspicious how little connection this story had to Walpurgisnacht?
Not sure I believe it.
It stands out a lot.
The specific lack of Walpurgis Night suggests
The specific lack, that's right. Strange that a man could go to Nazi Germany and nothing would occur on April 20th. Curious. Didn't attend any birthday parties, Charles. Anyhow, epilogue. I need not look beyond this courtroom to see all the liars, the haters, the killers, the crooks, the paranoid cowards. We're all expendable for a cause. No one knows better than those who kill for policy, clandestinely or openly, as do the governments of the world which kill in the name of God and country. Richard the Night Stalker Ramirez addressing the court. I should have done that in a not Pepe Le Pew, Speedy Gonzalez accent. I should have done it in that accent. Should have read ahead, figured out who I was quoting, and then done it that way. But now I can't, and I've told you what I would have done, and so I can't go back and do it. Tragic. Jean-Bédel,
exactly like Henry Kissinger there. Right.
What?
Oh, it was more like Nixon. Excuse me.
I was going to say.
I'm off, man. I'm off.
And Jean-Bédel Bokassa was like all Western supported. That's just a book read by Kissinger would be basically hypnosis, right? It doesn't matter what it is. It's just the voice. The voice would be
an AI version of Henry Kissinger reading his thesis.
You should do an AI voice of Henry Kissinger reading like My First Book by Honor Levy.
Werewolf nigga.
Werewolf. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Henry Kissinger reads Morning Glory Milking Farm. Actually, you know what? You just know that there's a bunch of. I don't understand why more like AI voices of oh God, what's his name? The fucking German director, Aguirre, Fitzcarraldo.
Oh,
help me out. The Penguin thing.
I met it.
How am I blanking on this?
Yeah, I've met
our whole audience.
German. He's German.
Our whole audience is going to say Werner Herzog. Jesus Christ! What is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? I can't remember Werner Herzog. I can remember his entire filmography, but I can't remember his goddamn name. Yeah. Anyway, more people need to be using Werner Herzog AI voice for things. More people need to be using that. Anyway, Jean-Bédel Bokassa was, like all Western-supported third world dictators, a fascist thug who allowed his country's rich natural resources to be ruthlessly exploited while his countrymen starved. Man, I wish the U.S. was just going around installing fascists. Real fascism has never been tried. Let's see. Ruthlessly exploited countrymen starved. Under his rule, the Central African Republic, a French satellite, was one of the 20 poorest countries in the world. Bokassa was reportedly orphaned at the age of 6 when his father was murdered and his mother allegedly committed suicide just a week later. At the age of 18, he joined the French colonial army, Colonel Army, and served throughout World War II. He remained in the army after the war and later served in the First Indochina War, aka Vietnam, and then in Algeria, two of the bloodiest and most brutal colonial occupations in recorded history. In 1961, Jean-Bédel left the French army holding the rank of captain. A few years later, he was appointed by his cousin, President David Dacko, to head the army of the Central African Republic. Just 1 year after taking the post, he took control of the country from his cousin. Lieutenant Colonel Bokassa assumed the presidency on January 1st, 1966, 4 months before the reputed commencement of the Age of Satan. By December 1977, Bokassa had decided that president was not a lofty enough title. So he declared himself Emperor Bokassa I of the re-Christian Central African Empire. As the country's self-appointed dictator, he had very close relationships with French President Valéry Giscard d'Estaing, two leaders that were frequently photographed together, and Giscard was reported to have several relatives in positions of influence in the Bokassa regime and within the empire's business community. See, why does this sound like a bad deal? Like at all? Like what's wrong? What's wrong with this deal? Right? Like who cares? It's Central Africa. It's the fucking Congo. Who cares? He was probably the best leader they'd had, the best African leader they'd had to that point.
Dead.
Almost undoubtedly. In May 1979, it was reported that Bokassa had personally ordered the massacre of 100, more by some reports, school children. I'd like to know what the school children said right before the massacre. Maybe they said something. Maybe they said something that set him off. You know? What do you say to the emperor of the Central African Republic if you're a school child? Nothing. You're very polite. That's what you do.
Right.
Yep. The children had been suffocated, stabbed, and beaten with nail-studded clubs. You know what? Maybe they didn't do well on standardized tests. You know? Are you thinking that maybe this was just like part of normal school discipline? You're trying to increase the graduation rate by decreasing the surplus population? You know, maybe this was the best thing that ever happened.
You're getting really desperate to start hacking off at that margin.
What?
You got to be getting really desperate to start hacking off that margin.
I mean, you know what? 100's a start. 100's a start. You know, can't say that he didn't try. Let's see. Beaten with nail-studded clubs. Seems pretty amateurish. Some eyewitnesses to the carnage claimed that the emperor himself had not only personally killed nearly 40 of the victims, but had cannibalized them as well. That's a lot to eat. I don't care how young they were. No one guy could eat 40 school children. That's crazy. The Bokassa regime, of course, denied the reports. The atrocity was confirmed, though, by Amnesty International, of course. Well, of course, we always trust them. We always trust.
I can't imagine a more trustworthy group of guys. We're getting on this.
Don't we trust MI6 and the U.S. State Department? Don't we trust them? Yeah.
More than I trust most, but only because I know exactly what kind of dirtbag shit to expect from them.
That's right. Yeah. And in August 1979, a 5-nation team assembled to investigate the incident determined that Emperor Bokassa was indeed personally responsible. Bokassa responded by ordering the execution of 40 witnesses who had offered testimony to the investigating board. Why is it always the number 40? That's as many as 4 10s, and that's awful. The next month, Bokassa was overthrown in what was described as a coup. In truth, it was merely a quick facelift to ward off the popular uprising that was brewing in the wake of the revelations. The coup merely put Bokassa's cousin back in power. French troops were on hand to oversee the transition. Bokassa fled the country, taking with him hundreds of millions of dollars looted from the national treasury, and ultimately settled in France. That's a nice retirement. Yeah. Bokassa's first stop after fleeing his country was in Libya, where he visited with Muammar al-Gaddafi, with whom he had close ties. Uganda dictator Idi Amin, also ousted in 1979 from the leadership post he had attained with Western support on February 2nd, 1971. Candlemas on the occult calendar, by the way. Likewise fled to Libya amid widespread reports of cannibalism. It is claimed that Amin ate one of his own sons and murdered and dismembered one of his wives. He was also known to publicly praise Adolf Hitler. Idi Amin, you know, I'm sure we've all seen the gif of Idi Amin on a boat breaking into a smile.
Yep.
That's the kind of Central African dictator that we need to see more of. You know? Just a jolly guy. You know what? I want to see it right now. Idi Amin smiling. Hold on. We're doing it. We're finding it. Let's see. Look at this guy. How can you hate that smile? You know? It's a regular Reginald Vell Johnson. right? Give this guy a fucking sitcom.
Yeah.
Prime time, ABC, Family Matters. Steve Urkel is just gonna fuck up this guy's life. You know, look how happy he is. You know what? He probably hacked up his bitch wife because, you know, she was just bringing him down. This is the smile of a man who has hacked up his bitch wife. Idi Amin. In this house, Idi Amin is a hero. I definitely believe there's a lot of cannibalism going on in Central Africa, but I somehow can't believe that it's a real scandal for the rulers to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I definitely believe it's happening. But yeah. Oh man, Uncle Ted is right. Idi Amin sounds like a European DJ. That's totally true. Idi Amin's playing the main stage at Ibiza. Like, are you ready? Anyway, house DJ. Yeah, also Gaddafi. Gaddafi is everything I learned about Gaddafi makes me like him more. You know?
Yeah, he seems like a great guy.
He actually seemed okay. Like, he was actually holding shit together. It's not like it's not like after Hillary Clinton had him assassinated, things have gotten any better in Libya.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know, it was holding it down. Like, who the fuck cares? Who the fuck cares if there are dictators in the third world? There should be dictators in the third world. They need dictators. They need better dictators. You know? Anyway. Bokassa had, however, left a few things behind. As the Associated Press later reported, prosecutors at trial noted Bokassa's old palace was filled with evidence of atrocities, including the frozen body of a school teacher hanging on a freezer hook and mounds of human flesh prepared for roasting. Other evidence of atrocities. I like how in the previous story, McGowan was like, I'm just gonna defend African dictators. Okay, I'm just gonna do that from now on, like forever.
It's a valid path.
Yeah, it's a valid path. It's clear there's literally no other method of governance that could possibly work in Africa. Like, you just have to be a dictator. That's it. Full authoritarian totalitarian. That's the only way to do it. The real problem with all these guys is they didn't go far enough. But McGowan in the last story had looked askance at the New Jersey State Police taking over the house of the suspect in the Lindbergh kidnapping, right? And then conveniently finding evidence of things that he had done. But he thinks it's totally fine that a rival faction would take over the house of Bokassa and conveniently find a bunch of like lurid shit that is like the most basic kinds of crimes that a person could possibly commit, right? Like, it's not, they didn't find that he was embezzling a bunch of like foreign aid money. They were like school teachers on meat hooks, mounds of human flesh, like sausage made from the cheeks of babies. You know what I'm saying? Like, McGowan has a different standard of behavior for domestic law enforcement than he does for like rival African warlord factions. So, other evidence of atrocities included according to author Janet Street Porter, a Dahmer-esque refrigerator full of butchered human remains and a crocodile pond on the palace grounds that contained the partial remains of some 40 additional bodies. Those crocodiles, that's, you know what? Don't keep crocodiles. You got to keep pigs. Pigs will eat everything. Remember that. You got to keep pigs. I learned that from the film Snatch. Guy Ritchie has not made a good movie in a long time, though. Bokassa's former cook testified at trial that he had regularly served up dishes prepared from human flesh. Probably the foremost. Who do you think the foremost human meat chef is?
Meat chef?
Human meat chef. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
a nameless dude in Papua New Guinea, probably.
You think so? You don't think it's like, you're gonna find out it's like Wolfgang Puck?
Yeah.
It's just
Jeez.
the most famous chef you can. Wolfgang Puck is not the most famous chef, obviously.
He's like, it's either that. It was either that or gay for pay.
Wolfgang Puck is definitely a gay male porn star name, isn't it? It really is. I don't know. I'm just saying that like the Bokassa's private chef was probably pretty good. He was probably up there, especially, Bokassa was a former colonel in the French army. I bet he got a little spoiled on French food. I bet his former cook I bet he got a French cook. I bet he got a French chef. Even a shitty French chef could do something with novel ingredients like human flesh. So just saying. His former cook had regularly served up dishes made from human flesh, and that Bokassa had consumed them with relish. Well, who cares what he garnished it with? So the guy likes pickles. What's wrong with that? The Associated Press reported that Bokassa enjoyed serving up his critics and political enemies at state dinners, honoring visited dignitaries and heads of state. Man, that would be great if the White House Correspondents' Dinner was the Correspondents' Dinner, but in this sense.
What about
it? What?
Oh, yeah, I'm with you.
You just eat the media. Yeah. It's simple. We eat the Batman.
It's simple. We eat the journalists. You don't make me tap the sign. You don't eat journalists enough. I should have used that for the thumbnail. You don't eat journalists enough. All right. Let's see. It has been claimed that at Bokassa's coronation as emperor, an ostentatious affair financed by the French government to the tune of tens of millions of dollars, guests unknowingly dined on human flesh. That is rude. You should let people know what they're eating. After 8 years of exile, Bokassa returned to his homeland in 1987, despite the fact that he had been sentenced to death in absentia. He was arrested, tried, convicted, and once again sentenced to death, but the sentence was shortly thereafter commuted to a 20-year prison sentence. In 1933, Bokassa was granted amnesty, and he walked away a free man, returning to his home village of Barengo. On November 3rd, 1966, he died of a heart attack at the age of 75 and was given an official state funeral befitting a former president. How are we to remember Jean-Bédel Bokassa, a respected head of state or a cannibalistic serial killer? Probably both.
Or is there any difference?
Yeah.
And we finished the book.
Oh, no. Sorry, Dave. See you later.
We finished the book. That's right. Here's the bibliography. Oh, look, he references Chuck Klosterman. Aren't you happy? Man, you know what? He really McGowan really fell off on his chapter titles as this book went on.
He was phoning it in there by the end. But he peaked so early with all that shit about the child abuse and
pedophocracy from Brussels. Let's see. Mick molestation. What?
The book frankly could have been arranged better. It took me a long time to figure out what the thesis even was.
Yeah, I know. He does just kind of jump around and like all of the little
I'm still the only thing I'm convinced is that Gacy didn't do it. And maybe
pretty sure that wasn't his thesis. I'm just gonna point out, pretty sure that one wasn't his thesis.
I don't agree with Dave. I don't like Dave. I don't like the cut of his jib.
I don't like the cut of his jib. I don't like how he carries himself. I don't like his Mick name. I don't
like when he points out the Fuhrer's birthday.
It was a great bit. It was a great bit. Walpurgis Nacht. I'll always remember Walpurgis Nacht, even if I forget to celebrate Walpurgis Nacht.
Well,
I didn't do anything on Walpurgis.
Jewish friend brought up Walpurgis Nacht on Walpurgis Nacht.
Walpurgis Nacht.
Walpurgis Nacht.
Why Yeah, I didn't do anything for Walpurgis Nacht. I didn't even call my mom. Yeah, I should have. I should.
If I called my mother and told her happy Walpurgis Nacht, she'd have fucking had me committed.
No kidding. Yeah. I mean, if I called my mom and said happy Walpurgis Nacht, she'd say, "Honey, you haven't called me in so long. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I love you. When are you coming to visit?" And I'll say, "I visited last week. You have you have
You have AI
you have Alzheimer's, Mom. Sorry." Yeah. She doesn't. She doesn't know. That's horrible disease. But yeah, she wouldn't know what the fuck Walpurgis Nacht is. And to be honest, I really still don't know what it is, even though I know we've looked it up twice during the reading of this book. But yeah. So, what are we reading next? Isn't it?
I feel like there's no way you've given no thought to that.
What? There's no way that I've given thought to what
There's no way that you've given no thought to it.
There are a few. I've received a extensive list of possible options from Wendy Painting PhD.
Ooh.
I like, oh man, Uncle Ted's coming in with American Exception, Empire and the Deep State. Interesting. Uncle Ted is usually hot.
Uncle Ted also says Wendy Painting is full of shit.
Wendy Painting in this house. Wendy Painting is a patriot.
Uncle Ted's turning into a coprophiliac.
No. Penultimo says Cap's mom is likely aware of how autistic he is and would probably agree with him anyway. My mom will agree with anything I say because I am her golden boy, but I am definitely not autistic. There's no fucking way.
I keep failing the autism test.
What do you mean? Do you keep failing to get a positive diagnosis of autism?
Yeah, they just keep telling me I'm weird.
There's just sorry, this is actually just how you are. So we don't have a word for this one. Yeah, it's yeah, definitely. Let's see. Uncle Ted says OKC was the final war between the Lansky neocons and Bush octopus for control over foreign policy. Meyer Lansky. Who won? Uncle Ted, who won? Was it Lansky or the Bushes? I guess it was the Bushes, right? I guess it was the Bushes. It had to be the Bushes, since they since W was later elected or installed. Anyway, yeah. So that's the book. What do you want to read next, Sandy?
I have no opinions.
That's not possible.
I really don't like most of the ones that I would like. Well, we could read. It's outside of the arc. You have an arc that you're developing.
Well, I do, but we're kind of, we're not like, we're taking the scenic route here. We're trying to find stuff that's in the same channel, right? What I really want to do is, okay. Uncle Ted is loudly saying American Exception, Empire and the Deep State.
So good.
I really need
some super chats for that.
I really want more from Jolly West. I think that there's a part of me that wants to go to primary sources a little bit, although, the primary sources are great for specials, right? So, we've had Jolly on West primary sources.
We should do another one.
Specials. What?
Let's do some Jolly on West.
Oh, you want maybe in our little, we'll do a gap week. We'll do a gap week and do Jolly West. Yeah. Yeah. That's true. There are a bunch of, let's see, I have a book that he edited on hypnosis, and a few other things. Actually, going for some of his cult deprogramming stuff could be good too, because there, the whole 80s, like late 70s, 80s arc was culty programming. But of course, that touches on a lot of the stuff that McGowan talked about too, because the groups who were involved in it were, also traffickers in the McGowan sense. So Ted says none of West's shit worked. Disagree. I think that he got better at it as he aged. I think he made a lot of mistakes, but he was an experimentalist. So I think that's just like
it's the bomber
how he did it. He had to develop. Yeah, you had to develop the basic psychological technology. So DDD absolutely does work. In principle, it's just figuring out how to really make it happen in the most efficient and scalar way, which we have now. It's the algorithm, by the way.
Thank God for Twitter.
Yeah. Thank God for our Jolly on West machine. The Jolly on West is in the room with us right now. If you are watching this on x.com, formerly Twitter, or YouTube, or Kick, you're watching it through a Jolly West filter. Just saying. Yeah. So yeah, I guess we can we're just gonna have to call it a little early tonight, Sandy, unless you have something you'd want to talk about. What?
I don't have a lot going on.
You have a lot going on?
I have nothing going on until this weekend, and then I'm like a flurry of activity for the next month and a half.
It is getting increasingly my schedule is getting increasingly tight as well. So let's see here. Penultimo says, I'll take the opportunity to once again request the Scum Manifesto. Scum Manifesto definitely not happening on this show, but I need to double check if Book Club from Hell has done Scum Manifesto, because that would be a good one for over there. So alrighty. Then we will see you next time. Just remember, if you think you're immune to mind control, well,
you'll be back next week.
It's working.
You're discouraged from questioning and thinking critically. You must accept the word of the leaders. They make you feel guilty if you do question or argue. Your environment is often controlled, cutting you off from friends, family, school, previously held beliefs. They want you to become dependent, provide a poor diet, poor health care, little sleep, and long, exhausting hours of work to make you physically weak and lower your ability to think clearly. Subtly, your self-confidence gets undermined, and your self-image or sense of identity is changed. The leaders control channels of communication. They cut off or put down outside sources of information. Then they bombard you with what they want you to think. They use strong peer pressure, playing on your desire to be loved and accepted. The leaders may promise rewards if you obey them and punishment if you don't, but they alternate harshness and leniency in order to confuse you. The leaders manipulate language, giving special meanings to words that only insiders understand. This is to make you feel like you're part of a special, important, or elite group, and that outsiders are inferior, dangerous, or doomed. You have to confess your shortcomings, mistakes, or misbehavior, sometimes even if these things never really happened. And meanwhile, your time and activities are tightly controlled. You don't have much privacy or energy or time to think because you're too busy doing monotonous, repetitive tasks. The leaders try to control you and even your sexuality, everything about you. They want to exploit you for their own enrichment, their own power or grandiosity. If they succeed, you will declare your loyalty to its leaders, rejecting your old values and way of life without realizing it. you will have been changed into a person who is being controlled by a totalist cult.